Hey, welcome back to my channel again. Dan Procopio from Michigan here. And one of the things that I've probably dwelled on, and maybe you have as well, for most of our lives, or at least most of mine, is how do you create a balance so that your work life isn't all consuming or your family life isn't all consuming so that it takes away from you accomplishing more of what you could accomplish in your life. And one of the great mentors that I have had over my life, somebody I never met, in fact, he's passed away now, is a gentleman named Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N, not Rome, Rohn, R-O-H-N. Anyway, Jim Rohn's been around for a was around for a long time, many years. And almost everything I've ever listened to him talk about, you could dissect every sentence and say, wow, there's a lot in that sentence. I think he was very purposeful in how he wrote and spoke about things. And it is something that came across in all of his writings and his mostly audio. So you could buy tapes in the past, and then it was CDs, and then, obviously you could have audio. He had classes, there was a lot of things. And I only speak about him because he was really such an influence on me from a relatively young age, because I was into some a lot of personal development, being involved in network marketing for a number of years. It was just a natural thing to do, right? You're embarking on something you know nothing about. You're trying to figure out how to achieve it. And at the same time, you're second guessing yourself. So it kind of was something that I thought, has it really had been something in my life that's been still there? And I have to say that I was listening to an audio that he did just the other day. It just happened to pop up, and I decided to listen to it. And I've probably heard it before, but it's one of those things that just kind of hits you, right? And one of the, what do you want to call it? One of the phrases or comments that you'll hear from people all the time is, live like today's your last day, because it could be, right? And that is true. I think a little better analogy that he has is to, how do you put it? Live as if today is your last, but build as if you'll never stop. Live as if today is your last day, but build as you'll never stop. Another way I heard him say it, I think it was his dad had passed away at like 90 some years old. And he said his list of things to do, achieve, goals was so long when he passed away, and he had accomplished so much when he was living, but he just never stopped. He was always planning like he was going to live forever. And I think that's a real good philosophy to, plan and build like you're going to live forever, but also living today as if it's your last day. So how do you kind of incorporate that? And I think about this, and I think, have you really done this, Dan? And he goes, when you live as if each day is your last, you're not being reckless, you're being intentional. So you don't want to be reckless in that you're just, it's my last day, I got to do everything I can possibly do. No, you're being intentional about that day. It's sort of like, I think it was something that he talked about too, was, if you're a craftsman, a woodworker or bricklayer, or just really anybody in the skilled trades or artist, you're very intentional, a writer, you're very intentional about getting those things just right. And even though you won't finish that project in that day, you work hard at that project in that day to be the best it can be. So if you're writing a book, maybe you only write a page of that book a day, but you make sure that it resonates with people when they're able to read it, that they can actually see what's going on in that book. My friend Bill Swartz, who passed away not too long ago, was really good about this. I mean, he chose his words well. And when he was a teacher, I remember one day he was talking about how he put a tennis shoe on a desk in his class, and he said, okay, I want you guys to give me instructions on how to get this tennis shoe on my foot. And it was funny because they would say something and he'd go, well, okay, but what do I do now? And so it was a process of just not, well, just put it on your foot. Well, what do you mean? Okay, somebody else would say, pick up the shoe. Okay, that's the first thing you got to do, right? Okay, put it on your foot. He'd stick it down on his foot. No. Put it on your, so what next? Lift your foot up off the ground and stick it in the shoe. Okay, now that's a little better instruction. So there was, speaking about words, a bricklayer looks at his work and sees the carpenter is, let's say, somebody that's making a cabinet or something like that. You're very intentional. It's a slow process, but you do it right. I remember my dad always saying, man, if you're not going to do it right, if you're not going to take the time to do it right, then don't do it. So living that day is just not being reckless about the day and I got to get through it and do everything I can. It's about being intentional. I really like that. And what you're saying is that every moment of every day matters. You're not just passing time. One of the first things I do every morning is I have another channel. It's called Peaceful Moments with God. If you get a chance, go over there and listen to it. I've got well over 100 morning prayers. They could be any time of the day, but I typically listen to them in the morning. So I've created these prayers, and then what I do is the first thing that pops up on my phone, before I even get out of bed, I listen to that prayer. And it's only 5 minutes, 4 to 6 minutes, somewhere in that range typically. And I listen to that prayer and I take that peaceful moments with God and just sit there and pray and listen. Sometimes I watch the video along with it. Sometimes I just listen to it. But starting my day, thankful that I woke up, being able to listen to that prayer. And we should all be thankful we woke up, because while we were doing this video right now, there have been people that have passed away. But there's also been people that are planting new seeds and doing new things. And that's where, your day comes in. And my day here is 3 hours ahead of people in California that may or may not wake up today, right? So when you build and plan as if you'll never stop, you're not postponing life, you're extending it. So the second part of it is, okay, you're living as each day is your last, but you're building and planning as if you'll never stop. You're not postponing life, you're extending it. You're seeing yourself way into the future. You're saying, the choices I make today, and I'm quoting a lot of this from Jim Rohn, so I just want to make sure I say that. The choices I make today will echo through years. The relationships I invest in now will grow stronger. The skills I develop now will serve me later. And the character I build now will define who I become. So those are some pretty powerful things to just think about. Like I said, every sentence that he wrote in his and spoke in his recordings were very intentional. And so I thought about these things and I was thinking, do you really do that, Dan? Have you done that? I'm 68 years old. I don't know how old you are, but have you been doing it? And if you haven't been doing it, why not? Have you thought about it? And I guess it kind of starts with that, right? Did we think about that as we started our day? Did we think about our relationships, our character, what we're planning on for the future? Um, I remember somebody telling me, I want to be a sportscaster and like have my own blog that was a while back, or my own YouTube channel, right? Talking about sports. Um, he's not done it yet. Maybe he still will, but why not? Why wait? Work towards it, right? What skills do you need to be able to do that? Do you need to know how to do stuff online? Now, for example, this YouTube channel, I had no idea what I was doing. I knew how to create a video, but I had no idea how to take that and edit, like my other channel in the Peaceful Moments with God. I had to do a lot of editing and learning how to make, what do you call them? The thumbnails, right? And so you learn, you watch, you listen, you talk about different things. There's another gentleman that I've seen here on YouTube. He's around my age, or maybe a little bit older. And he just talks about stuff that he does in retirement, or that have happened to him since retirement. Well, I'm not retired yet, so I can't talk about that, but I can talk about all the things that have happened in my life. And some of the other videos I've made, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm only talking about things that make a difference for me. So have I been able to create balance? It seems like I've always tried. I remember there was a period where I didn't, and I look back on that and I kind of regret it. I had a lawn business going, and I went back to another business that I had that I'd kind of gotten away from, building sales crews for newspapers. And I was doing them both at a time for almost a 5-year period. And during that time, I realized what I missed out on, because at the end of that 5 years, right near it, I found out my mom had cancer and she didn't have very long to live. And I thought, well, what if that was me? I've spent the last 5 years with, especially my youngest son being fairly young at the time, really spending very little time with him, very little. And to what? To build a couple businesses where it make me more money and, have more things, but not being able to enjoy them. However, even during that time, to be fair to me, I did make times where we were doing some nice things as a trip, but those daily interactions and being able to have real genuine interactions with your family weren't there, because I'd start at 7 in the morning, come home, take a nap, go back out at 3 o'clock, work till 9. By the time I got back home, he was asleep. So that was one time of the year where I was intentional about work, but I really wasn't intentional about making sure that my marriage and my family and everything worked well. And maybe that's part of what ended up with the divorce. Those 5 years also was not spending time with my spouse. I don't know why I got divorced. She's never told me. She said, well, I don't want to be married to you anymore. So, okay, well, whatever. So the thing is, but most of my life, I've always tried to have that balance, being able to spend time with family on weekends and after work, during the day, whatever. And that's how I chose my business. So I didn't want to be tied to a building. My parents had a hardware store, and they were really tied to that, and when I was in the sales crew business, I didn't want to be tied to it. When I was in the lawn business, I wanted to be able to create it so that I could step away as I needed. So there was a little bit of both balance there. And, it hasn't worked perfectly. Obviously, if it did, I would probably be better off successfully now in my financial, although I'm doing okay. And maybe I would have had more success in other areas. But I find now that I really do. And maybe that's something that you need to think about. And if you do, or if you've thought about it, or you've had success with balance in your life, put something in the comments. Let other people know, hey, this is how it's worked for me. This is what I've been able to do. And if it hasn't, Maybe you got some questions about, how can I do this with this balance? And not only me, but maybe somebody else in the comments will help you. So it's an amazing thing to think about. I'm going to put a link in the bottom of this description that will have a link to the video that I watched from Jim Rohn that I think you really like. It's 32 minutes long, but I promise you it will be worth every minute. In fact, if you really want to get the most out of it, it'll probably take you 4 or 5 hours to kind of dissect it. So anyway, Dan from Michigan here. I think I've talked long enough today. This is like a 15-minute video already. So I hope you've taken the time to listen to the whole thing. And if you have, thank you. Please like and comment and share this with other people if you could. Can also visit my other channel if you like, Peaceful Moments with God. And I look forward to talking to you again. Have a wonderful day.